Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Living Your Juiciest Life Ever, where we interview amazing people from different walks and spaces of life, from self-loathing to self-love, from selfless to self-full, from living someone else's dream to stepping into who it is that they truly are, or even someone that's been living that way their whole life and they're just amplifying their journey and amplifying their walk. And we also have great little snippets and tips and inspirational mini podcasts that we like to share. And so today I have the honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Miss Amy and Barroso.
Yes, Barroso is the name, and I am in transition to Belle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I realized as I was saying it, so so I will continue that wonderful introduction of welcoming Amy to the show. Amy Belle is the founder of White Lightning Communications, a visual strategy agency focusing on branding with a special twist, the most important twist, because it's coming from soul. She has combined her 30 years as a graphic designer with her color energy training in the color mirror system to create a powerful analysis for her branding clients. The Branding with Soul method led to the birth of a magazine that is for creative professionals called United Colors of Design. Most recently, she has opened the Colors of Design Academy to teach graphic designers how to implement the Branding with Soul method into their business to deepen, to widen, and to deepen, going back to deepen their whole perspective on color and transforming more lives by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
All of these vehicles are here to open a deeper conversation about color and how it impacts everything from our art forms, businesses, mood, and journey on this planet. So welcome, Amy. So happy to have you here, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Thank you, Kate. This is going to be so fun. I've been really looking forward to this.
Me too. We had a couple of bumps along the way, but we did make it. We are here.
Yes, we did. I'm all about the juicy life, so I can't wait.
Yes, exactly. That juicy life. Funny how that name came up, and I had a few people say, okay, that sounds a wee bit kinky. I was like, that's okay. You can make it mean what you like.
I love that word. I use it as much as possible. I don't care if it's kinky. It is awesome. Who doesn't want a juicy life? Like, it just sounds so amazing. Of course you want that.
Yes. We all want that. And how often does it happen that people are, in that place of survival mode? I mean, now they say that the percentages are up to over 80% of people that are unhappy in what it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. It's
I mean,
true.
That's an incredible amount. So when I asked you the question about how did you feel when you were giving too much to others, and I love the response of what it is that you said. You didn't feel that way unless it was coming from the wrong place.
Yes.
And I want to talk more on that, because this is super important, because giving needs to come from that fullness, from that flow, right? So it sounds like when you're giving from the right place, that there's really a sense of balance in your life when you're doing that. Is that true?
Yes. When I was reading that question, honest to God, Kate, I must have read it like 100 times. And I'm like, what? Okay. What? And I rewrote it and wrote it. And I'm thinking, I've never really felt like I was giving up a part of me by giving too much. And I think the caveat was, aside from me being, a new mom and having a shower by myself once in a while, it feels like a day at the spa. But outside of that, I never felt like I was giving to the point where I was neglecting me.
Perfect.
And then when the thought that came into my mind was that it's important for me, because the giving goes with the receiving, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was giving to my ex-husband, let's say, I was giving, and not really receiving what I wanted. And he felt he was giving, and not receiving what he wanted. So how can two people live under the same roof and feel that they're just such giving people, yet they don't feel like they're receiving from the other end? Mm-hmm. So then, fast forward 18 years going through our divorce, and we're finally, having good communication. We just discovered we were giving the wrong things. Like I would do something for him that I think is just so awesome of me, like I'm doing this for you, you should love it. But it wasn't what he wanted to receive. And he would do things for me that I would just go, what is that? Like, and I wouldn't want to receive that. So moving again, fast forward to a new relationship. Now we have the conversation, like pretty much day one. Mm-hmm. How do you like to receive? And what does giving look like to you? And so then it becomes this juicy partnership where you just feel like you're so loved, and he listens to me and he's giving me what I want. And that makes me want to give him what I want. And then it does, you're right, it comes from this heart place instead of a duty.
Yeah. So as I was reading the answers around that, it always brings me back to mind when we talk about that misfiring in relationship. Is it's understanding, first of all, what is our love language?
Yes.
And then it makes a relationship, then we begin to know what to ask for. Like what is it that makes me feel loved, right? Have you read that book?
I have not read that book, but I have read The Queen's Code, which is, I think, kind of the same sort of thing from what I've heard about both.
Okay. So it is called the 5 love languages, and he breaks it down simply into 5 languages, right? So it sounds to me like, your ex-husband's love language was probably an act of service of some kind.
Oh yeah. I mean, in hindsight, I'm looking back going, like, he built us renovated the whole house, which he was doing out of love for us and his family. And all I saw was, are you going to come for dinner? And I got to feed all these guys that are helping us. Like, it was chore after chore after chore, but I was only thinking of how it was affecting me and not acknowledging him for what he was doing out of love for us and me.
It's that whole communication thing that we have to learn, right? It's really funny, but that's what I was noticing as I was reading your responses. And I just thought it's lovely that you started a new relationship and you had the conversation. Whether you read something or not, you recognized what was not.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you had the conversation. So many people repeat the same things when they go into a new relationship. And so it's really nice when you meet someone that is ready to transform, evolve, take responsibility, whatever that might be, to move into that next space so that you can have that juicy communication.
Yeah. This new relationship with Brian started off that way. We both knew that we didn't want to repeat. We wanted to change and alter our path so that we didn't have to live this lesson over again. Once was enough for both of us. And so, yeah, I mean, we are really great with communication. And when we do have altercations or we do have little arguments, it is 100% because we got off track from talking to one another, or we started to assume or take advantage. But luckily, we can recognize it pretty quickly and get back on track and go, okay, let's just have a little chat here about that.
Isn't it awesome, eh?
Yeah, I love it. I'm not sort of wishing I could go back, but I feel like if I knew this information when I was married, would it have changed things? Would have things been different? But I obviously we can't, dwell on that. But I am happy that, I learned enough and he learned enough and we both wanted to change enough that we work on this thing. And it's amazing.
Marvelous. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to have that kind of harmony in your life and support and safety and trust.
Yes. All of that juice. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing to talk about, because if we think about the last couple of years, I mean, with all of what it is that's gone on, people have had all these extra challenges. And how many relationships have had more of a struggle and have broken when it's, really, for those listeners that are listening and maybe going through some of this struggle, is there's some really simple things that one can do to have a look at the relationship that you're in. If you're having that struggle, go buy the book, The 5 Love Languages, or the book that you suggested. What was the name of it?
It's called The Queen's Code by Alison Armstrong.
And it's all about
my life. Yes.
That kind of idea. Perfect.
Well, it's more geared towards women learning a men's language. Now it's very difficult to explain. It's not about a women's liberation thing or women allowing men to dominate them. It's about just communicating with one another so that you can create a great partnership. And I think whatever book that you find that information in, it's a great book, because, communication right now, you're in each other's faces. There's really nowhere to escape to. And thank God I was with this partner, Brian, because we actually enjoyed hanging out together. We cooked, we brought the kids into the kitchen. We were, just having fun, getting to know ourselves even deeper than we thought we knew. Right. So if you're having trouble, I would say, get the book, test it out. And if that doesn't happen, it's time to go deeper.
Well, and both those books would be great tools. And what I always suggest to people from a couple perspective is that one person is always the driver and the other person is more kind of the, accept who it is that you really are. And I love to bring things for us to share. Right. So I find someone that's really good to listen to, and we listen together so that we can both grow.
Yeah.
From that space. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know if it's age that has chilled me out a little bit, because, my Aries nature would take over and I dig my feet in and I would, get stuck in being right and not wanting to admit that I was wrong, not necessarily wanted to take responsibility for the way I was or the way things were heading. Like I really, really looked at myself post-marriage, sort of knocked me into the world of self-discovery and spirituality. And what does that mean? And, we were talking about removing layers and just going deeper and deeper. Like, I can't go deep enough now, like just rip another layer off, because there's always a mirror up in front of us that we can have to learn from, and our partners, especially if it's a male partner, that's your, for a woman, it's a mirror to her masculine side and vice versa. So you're mirroring to your husband his feminine side. And sometimes he don't want to look at his feminine side because she's a bit bitchy today. But that's what we have to do. What we only have one button, and that's a belly button. So any other button that's being pushed on you needs to be taken a look at. You need to look at yourself.
I love that. We only have one physical button, and that's the belly button.
That's right. Any other time you're being triggered, and that's something I learned with this
reflection, all the time reflection.
All of it. You got to just go, I wonder what's going on there. Why am I feeling this way? Why is leaving the cap off the toothpaste pissing me off so much today? Why is, what is that? And a deeper sign is, isn't there a time you've done something irritating, Amy? Isn't there a time you've left something out? Like, how can you stand here and get upset about that?
One of my favorite lines that really helped me was, if I have an issue, whose issue is it?
Exactly.
if this not being clean enough is an issue for me, whose issue is it? Oh, now I can clean joyfully because I know it's mine.
Right. Yes. And it just releases a lot of pressure, like I don't have to constantly nag, because I'm like, oh, whatever. If that's how he wants it, that's how he wants it. There's so much more. Who cares? Yeah. You just have to find someone who's somewhat on the same level of cleanliness as you. And then, that's half the battle right there. And then you can pretty much walk around the house being okay with one another.
Yeah. celebrating one another. I'm really enjoying that piece of it, is remembering the appreciation. It's like, hey, have I told you that I really appreciate you today?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? In hindsight of both relationships, all he wanted was acknowledgement.
Mm.
Like, how much effort does it take to say, like, thank you, that was so awesome, I love that. And he is a very even keeled guy. Like, he doesn't get too excited, he doesn't get too angry. And I'm one of these, like, oh my God, like, if something excites me, I get really excited. So when I say, look at this, you're not going to believe this, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm like, okay, can we just amp up that a little bit? Just a little bit of excitement. And he's like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. Drives me crazy, but that's his level. Like, I can't get upset with it, because it also means we
His
don't fight.
personality.
We don't go crazy in the fighting department, because it's always even, like, even. So it makes, when I was with my husband, it was like we were completely on fire or we were completely in love. It was like this up or down, all or nothing. It was exhausting. So to be with this guy who's kind of keeps me on an even keel, and says, you don't need to yell, we don't need to do that, we're fine, and he stays toned, then that sort of cools down my fiery Aries that wants to just yell sometimes. Still peeling layers on that one, Kate.
Yeah, I hear you. But hey, I there's something else I heard this morning that I just love, is feelings are for feeling, they are not for fixing. How we express them, right?
Yeah.
In communicating might be received differently. So there's a management thing that goes around there for sure. But feeling your feelings and getting them out, it really helps you to just move on to the next thing. When we fight against feeling, or we fight against crying, or we make ourselves wrong for feeling something, we hold that within us, and it is what makes us not well.
Yes. I'll take that and put it in my pocket for later when I'm feeling like I need to yell.
I'm just processing.
Yeah, exactly. Processing very loudly right now.
Okay, so I want to jump into, before we jump into what we talked about earlier, the transitions part, is I'd like to talk about the color. And because I have that history as well, and I get the energy of color, but what you do is different than what I did. Mine was the application on the outside. Yours is an application kind of on the inside. It is on the inside, but on how they impact one another. And so there's a totally different perspective there. So maybe you can share the application from a healing perspective. And how that works and impacts. You mentioned something about the magazine being gold this month, and so the impact of how things are showing up. So maybe we could kind of expand a little bit on that.
Yes, I can. So I work with an energy system called color mirrors. The premise is, you choose a color, it mirrors back to you something, a challenge, a gift, an issue that you're having at the moment. And so you can see back here, they're not perfume bottles, they're color therapy bottles. And so what I do is I'll have a session with somebody, and they will either have colors come up from their birthday, because we look at numerology, or from a name, which includes numerology, or we just do a reading back and forth, choose a bottle, let's have a little chat, because every bottle has a message in it. So my work with color initially began with a spiritual healing, like taking responsibility for my own spiritual healing. And because I'm a designer, the color was just like, of course, that's going to be the way for me, because I love color, and I love the fact that I went to school for it, and I had color theory classes. But now that I know what I know, they barely scratch the surface in formal education.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So once I started working with it on my own self through becoming like just going to the workshops and working with the bottles, working with the color, meeting people that will talk about this with me, because there's not a lot of people that, know about this, and there's not a lot of people that understand the energy and psychology and frequency of color. They kind of know it like high school level from what we learned in grade 9 art class, complementary colors and basic sort of understanding of what red means and what blue means. And then when I became a consultant and then a teacher of this energy system, I realized that we can apply this in business. And so I started working with entrepreneurs who wanted to put the branding with soul. The soul part is, let's look at what the colors mean, and can we send this message out to your clients before they even talk to you through the energy of the color you use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working, and people are loving it.
It works amazingly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Color Mirrors family, as it is around the world right now, is mostly of, spiritual healers, alternative medicine people, massage therapists, Reiki healers. They use the color as another tool in their toolbox, but mostly it's sort of esoteric and quantum kind of people that are into it. And me, introducing it to some businesses, it's a bit of a hard sell if they're not into, the frequency and energy of things. But so then the magazine became this way for me to work with people who already love color, which are all creatives on this planet. They all love color. I don't have to sell them on color. But what we do in the magazine is we look at each color. We look at, each expert that writes in the magazine is looking at their area of expertise through the lens of a color I've chosen for the magazine each quarter.
Okay.
And we're working through the rainbow, my rainbow, or the Color Mirrors rainbow, which has 19 colors in it. And so we started with black in October of 2020, right? When things were going a little sideways and people had just sort of come out of this dark night of the soul from March till October. Everybody was reevaluating, everybody was panicking, everybody was, staying inside and locked up. And so physically we were locked up in in the dark hole, so to speak. And so the magazine started with black, and then we went to copper and red, and we were working our way sort of up the chakra system. And the magazine is slightly different to me from Maclean's or Time or, whatever other mainstream magazines there are, because the people who are writing in it, the people who are viewing it, myself creating it, my art director, Judy, who's designing it with me, we are immersed in the energy of that color of the issue. And every color has positive and negative attributes to it. And sometimes your shadow, that we all know, there's many of them that hide up in there and they gang up, they can make a color become a struggle. So gold that you mentioned is the wisdom color. It's the, I'm going to step into my I amness. It's just awesome. It's about alchemy and power, but from a authentic place. So now that we're working on this gold edition, people are going to be up leveling themselves. They're going to be, stepping into their power. They're going to be, maybe wanting to write something different than they have in the other editions. So every color is just an exploration of a mirror to all who read and write in it, which is kind of cool.
Wow. So each contributor, through their own expertise, is applying the experience of that color for them?
Yes. So if we're looking at, we have a wealth, the Colors of Wealth columnist is Whitney Hammond.
Okay.
And so, she writes many articles for different magazines about wealth building and investing and how you can make your money work for you. But when she writes for this magazine, I say, okay, Whitney, you got to put on your gold glasses and you have to look at it through the parameters of like, what is gold? Gold is wisdom, authentic power, value, purpose, abundance, alchemy, trust. And then it also goes into low self-esteem, because if you're not valuing and stepping into yourself, it can appear as low self-esteem, right? Confusion, being a little controlling. So how do we look at wealth building through that lens, through those parameters? Mm-hmm. And we do that with everyone. So we have, the colors of business. We have, who else do we have here? The colors of energy. We look at career development, sales, advertising. So all of those people that are writing, and they could write for anyone, they could duplicate this article anywhere, but I'm asking them to put on the color. So last month was orange. So they're looking at orange, which is sacral energy, which is sexual and juicy and awesome, but also about trauma. And so what do you do when you're stuck in trauma and you want to, it's blocking you to your wealth, or it's blocking you to making your business grow, right? So yeah, endless topics when you add the colored goggles to the scene. Mm-hmm.
Relationship with that, that sacral chakra as well. So yeah. So what is relationship to money? What is relationship to sex? What is relationship to, that's amazing. There must have been some really cool articles in there.
Well, I did have, for the sacral one, the orange one that we just did, I had 2 writers say, I'm just too stressed, I can't do it. And they're both color consultants. They both work with this system. They both know, what do you do when you're not facing your orange, your sacral? You got to go in and go see what it is. Luckily, of course, they know this, right? So they're like, okay, I'm just going to step back. But what I learned is, as the creative director and sort of the overseer of this energetic vehicle I've created, is that I was giving them what I wanted, what I thought should be written in that magazine. And when I pulled back and said, I'm out, whatever comes out, everything is perfect, then they were able to flow. But I was I was spiritually blocking them because I had a certain way that I wanted the article to go. And this is interesting. This is not my vehicle. Like, this is a vehicle for color. Color has to do the speaking.
That's beautiful. So the energy of the color has to do the speaking. It's so interesting because, we often have an agenda.
Agenda.
And we don't realize that we have that agenda, which then takes us out of being just 100% in that moment of creation.
And I was pushing an agenda to them, thinking I was helping them, thinking that I was giving them story ideas. And the more ideas I gave them, the more stressed out they were getting. And eventually what came out was their journey in orange, and very personable, very personal, very intimate articles that they wrote, and exposed their hearts and their little sacral bits out all over the world. And so, that's what needed to come out in that moment. Like, both of them had such extraordinary experiences when they decided to sit with their orange bottles that they work with and go in and do meditation and just, ask to receive what's going on here. And they were like out of this world experiences that they had, and they wrote about them. So color is just a gentle way to expose a challenge, or to expose a gift, or something that's lying within you that needs to come out. And it's not like I'm saying, okay, you got to change how you are. I say, Kate, pick a color, and the color tells you. You can't yell at a color.
Oh, I don't know about that, Amy. I think I
can. You try and yell at a color that's called Children of the Light. Like, you can't yell at that. right?
Yeah.
Like there's the names of these things, the energy that's put in, it's oil that we've used for centuries to anoint in churches and in ceremonies. It's got water that's infused with energy and the moon and all this stuff. And then each bottle has a message. And so you pick a bottle and I read the message, and then, you know, I just interpret it. I'm not here to be psychic. I don't know anything about your life, but when you choose a color, it's mirroring something. And every single time, it is dead on.
So how do you choose the color?
You choose the color. So I used to be in a position where you could see them a little better, but sometimes one pops out more than another. Is there one that's popping out for you?
No,
Or
not right now.
you can pick a number between 1 and 87 and we can do it that way.
Oh.
Pick it, Kate. What's going on with you? Let's see.
Well, I automatically, as a smart ass, said 87, but the number that came up when I allowed it to was 83.
Well, 87 we can do. We just go back to the beginning. So you just pick bottle number 1, which says, I'm the sun and I am warm and joyful and beautiful. It's yellow. I don't have it here, but it's a bright yellow bottle. It also says, I am number 1 and the universe should revolve around me. Sunny, Miss Sunny disposition. So when somebody picks a number 1 bottle, we know that they're a leader. We know that they are, let's get the yellow stuff here. So optimistic, analytical, where else did it go? Logical, academic, intellectual, bright, sunny. But when you choose it we just did a random thing and there wasn't much thought put into it, right? But the rebel in you says, I'm going to pick 87 because she don't have an 87. But I do, Kate. I do have an 87 and it's the number 1 bottle.
Well, I didn't think that you didn't have an 87, but so the number that intuitively came when I asked was an 83.
An 83.
Yeah.
So
now I'm curious. Okay.
Okay, let's see what that one is. 1 second. It's one of our Gaia bottles for sure. What have I got here? 87. 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves, people.
Well, okay, so I can actually talk a little bit about that because immediately what happened to me, I actually took a course called Egyptian numerology with someone a few years back. And so of course the 8 and the 3 would be an 11. So that would be, so then I have all of that information within me, which is, it's intuition. It's, you think kind of differently than other people think. And sometimes you don't understand why people can't see what you see. You see things differently. You can't understand why people can't see what you see. And
yes, well, when you get that 11 in there, you're also talking about someone who can work with the light in the dark. Because in ours, it's like a cool, very dark magenta and a very bright white light, right? So you have the ability to talk to people and bring out the shadow side and then have them see the light that hides in there. So it's a good number to have. It's also heavy.
Yes, I've experienced that.
Yeah. So we've got 30. So G32 is the bottle. It's this lovely, sparkly, I've got some, where's my white little paper here? Do I have one? I know you can't see this if we're looking at the podcast, but on top it is sparkly pink.
Yeah.
And the bottom is clear. So it's a very fun bottle and it's called, where'd we go here? It's called Garden of Light.
Ooh.
Yes, conscious love, because what sits on top is pink, is resting on inner light.
Nice.
That's nice. This reminds us of the ancient teachings that we brought with us from our star. So, you know, your starry being before you come here. Mm-hmm. And it is what we came to remember and to teach. This is what we can now be on the planet: pure love and brilliant divine light. there's more, but I'll save it.
That sounds like fun. I'd like to hear more of that on it. But that should actually inspire some people to go, hey, you know what? I need to talk to Amy. So
well,
really like that.
When you're picking the higher numbers, and I don't want to give a clue, but if the higher numbers are resonating, it's sort of an evolved, like a evolved bottle. It's like the ones on the top, the Gaia bottles in 2012, when the world went sideways, and apparently that's when the Mayan calendar was supposed to end.
Yes.
Everybody thought the world was going to end. My marriage ended. Everybody that I know whose marriage ended in 2012. So
that's when I met my present husband.
Yes, big things happen, energetic shifts. So either divorce, or you found the love of your life, or you found a new job, or you did like something major shifting would have happened in 2012. And this is when Gaia, or Mother Earth, Goddess Earth, sort of spoke to Melissa, who created this whole system, and said, I need to speak now. And so all of the Gaia bottles were created. And these are from, I think, like number 50 and up. So they are like they have sort of a more woo-woo explanation to them. Like, you're a star being. Like, not everybody buys into that. But the fact that you pick that, and that it is a sparkly bottle, you are a star being of love that has come down here. Like, by virtue of what you're talking about right now, I want people to recognize their juiciness. I want to, just be fully in and love life. And then you worked physically with your hands to heal people. So, yes, I'm a star being, but I'm coming to this planet so that I can be the bridge, so that I can bring my heaven to earth, so I can, indoctrinate people into this whole starry conversation.
This amplifying self-love. Yeah. That's why I'm smiling. I'm like, that's very, very harmonic with where it is that I'm at. So that's very cool that showed up.
Yes.
Okay. So, this is so cool, because you are in space of transition. And this is a beautiful time to share, I believe, again, because of the journey that we've been on. This is such a massive transition of the planet. And we have to remember that we were born for this, because sometimes it can be really hard. It can be really dark, and we can find ourselves with loss of hope. And so with what it is that's going on in your life, you have this beautiful vision and dream of moving forward. And you're taking a risk right now that you've never done before. So please share a little bit about, because this obviously is something that's been brewing for a while.
Yes.
So if you could share, one, where did this begin to blossom from? And then the decision to make the extra risk of not knowing.
Yeah.
And where it is that you're going. However you want to put that together.
Well, back in 2013, I met my new partner as he was producing a party. He was planning an event for his friend. And he had the bus rented, and he had stops laid out, and he had a photo booth in the back of the bus, and he had cake, and he had drinks, and he had everything. Like, I walked on there thinking, I think I'm already in love with this guy. Like, I found my guy who actually likes doing this stuff as much as I do, and paid attention to all the cool little things that I would pay attention to if I was putting on a party. So that was something that sort of immediately connected me with him. Like, we could both put on some amazing events if we ever, got together and this went somewhere. And then we wound up dating, and we both discovered that at some point in our future, the end game is we want to be somewhere tropical, and we want to have a retreat center. And we were thinking Costa Rica. So yes, just like you, because
Costa Rica is the place that we keep bouncing back to.
I know. So he's been to Costa Rica twice. I haven't been yet. And when he was there, he had the Pura Vida tattooed onto his leg. Like, this is how connected he wants to be with this little island, right? So up until probably last year, that was our sort of daydreaming when we were hanging out together. We'd be like, and wouldn't it be great if we were there, and blah, blah. Well, life as we know it has been flipped upside down. So this has invited us to have the conversation about, what do we really want life to look like? Do we want to be happy now, or do we want to hold on and just be happy in the future? Like, why can't we bend time and make this happen now, instead of living miserably for the next 7 years, 10 years, right? So what we've done this week is made the call to the real estate agent, and the house is going for sale. We are going to get back to ground zero, because he's been heavily, handling the financials of our household for the last few years, due to whatever is happening, right? Just slow down in my work. So we're going to get back to ground zero, and then have equity left over to go and get a business, go do the retreat now. So whether we have somebody who wants to buy the retreat center and we work it, or whether we buy the retreat center ourselves and we do it all, whether we have an investor, I have no idea what it looks like. I'm not even sure where it's going to be. So this is like the uncomfortable part for me, because I've always, as much as I'm a rebel, I do like to know where I'm going to end up.
You're a planner.
A bit of a planner.
Yeah.
And when I never would have called myself that, Kate. Like, that just sounds icky to me. But I'm embracing what is, okay, I am that person. I like to
and that's why you can actually that there is that detailed aspect of throwing a party. So you're going to throw a party. What do I need?
Yes.
Right.
True.
So it doesn't mean that you're all 100% that planning piece, but it's kind of like, here's where I want to go. And, is there somewhere I can actually put one foot on it at least, so that I can, know that exactly. I'm going to.
Oh, okay. So I am numerologically a number 7, a 34/7. Okay. And numerology says that planet, I'm not sure that number is ruled by Neptune, which is a water planet. And I like to do this treading water thing. And so sometimes I need to hit a sand dune in order to feel the ground under my feet. Otherwise, I'm just going to float around and just be, all, woo, let's go, have the margarita while I'm floating on this little, floaty raft. But I can't do that all the time. So I need sometimes to know that there's a solid ground under me. But right now, I'm also in a 7-year, I'm a life path 7, and I'm in a 7-year of our 9-year cycles that we go through, right? So to me, this is saying I really have to learn to go with the flow. And if I want to be happy, I just have to surrender that, what's coming to me is going to be great. And that's my focus. Obviously, we're planning. Obviously, we're looking. Obviously, we're, putting the feelers out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And to the people listening, I mean, if you've got a dream and it's sitting in your house, you really have to scream that dream out the front of the cave. Like, you can't sit in your cave and go, I want a retreat center, and no one's going to hear you. Right. So I took the step of putting it out into a group that I belong to, and just said, here's my heart out on a plate. What do you think about this, ladies? And I'm putting it into the universe to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, like, people are sending me retreat center links, and people are talking to me about what they want to do on their retreats. And I've had meetings with facilitators, and it's happening. So you can't just sit there with this dream and not put it out into the world, because it is shocking how many people want to support this dream of mine.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just sit at night going, wow. So much support, and so much help, and so much kindness. And it's just beautiful. So don't be afraid to put your dream out there, because, there's people there to support you.
Awesome. So there you go. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if you were to share something that helps keep you on track, for where it is that you're going and the dream it is that you are now working at manifesting, what is a practice that you could share with other people to help them do the same thing?
I know I answered this question on your sheet. I
Yes, you
cannot
did.
remember what I said, but I'm going to say something about creativity. I am like, my soul is dead if I am not being creative. Every other aspect of my life is dull if I am not thinking of new ideas, if I'm not learning, if I'm not teaching myself something through YouTube University. I think the most important for me is staying creative and just keep on learning. The moment we stop learning about ourselves, about technology, about whatever else there is to learn about, cooking, pick something, but always keep your brain activated so like you're not getting stuck.
So I can identify with that. So for me, to give people more like another idea. So for you, it's I'm going to go back to what you said as far as staying creative. So whatever it is that's creative for you, whatever it is that makes you feel juicy, yes. What is that thing that you can go back to on a daily basis and just touch that to ignite you? I know that my life is better when I'm singing.
There you go.
So that's my thing. So, and I claimed this year that I wanted to bring my voice to the forefront, and I've had more things happen around here. I've had, so give the audience a visual. I've had, my jaw, blew up that it looked like I had a tennis ball.
Ooh.
I just got over that last week. And, I'm like, what is this? And it happened earlier. It happened in the middle of last year, but that has to do with my voice. I've had, I got very sick and my throat was really bad. So all these challenges are coming up and I'm going, ooh, I must be really, really dangerous.
Yes.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Your shadow is going to pop up and it's going to make your face blow up. It's going to stop your voice. It's going to, as soon as you say, I want to put myself out there, then it's going to stop it. If you wanted to paint, you may have broken your hand, like it will do things to you to stop you because it likes you being small. It likes this little.
Absolutely.
So what you can do though, because we know the throat chakra is blue, when it's acting up, you can go to the complementary and go to orange and wear an orange scarf. And so when you're trying to sing or when you're, not trying to sing, obviously you can sing, but yeah. If the orange is going to soothe the shadow. And then you can also have a conversation with your shadow and say, look, I really understand that you want to keep me safe and you love me. And so you're going to try and stop me with this giant thing, but it ain't going to work. And so just take the back seat and I got this. And then the orange is going to complement the blue. And it's what, if you're having trouble in the throat, you use the orange to boost it so that you can get over that little hump. Brilliant. If it's trouble with your, your spirituality, get into that yellow joy. It's the complementary that is going to heal what's going on there.
Gorgeous.
Or you can do blue as well.
Awesome. Well, that's just great. So thanks for that. So that was a great tip. And so now we know where it is that you're going. So the next 1, 3, 5 years that you are onto this retreat, and it's already moving in the direction of being more and more brought from the invisible to the visible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's floating in the vortex. I have to tell you, I just, I still have some frequency adjustments before I'll be able to tune in to what's on that other radio station, like when I hear Abraham Hicks speaking, when she's saying, if you're tuned into Q107 and your guy is on Chum FM, you're never going to see each other. Yeah. So if I'm on Q107 and my retreat center's on Chum FM, I got to get to Chum FM somehow. And that's what I'm working by, taking these leaps of faith. I am, I'm aspiring to reach the frequency of what's waiting for me.
Beautiful. And that's where I love that. So I'm getting into the frequency of where it is that I want to go. And as I'm stepping into that, so one step at a time, one movement at a time. So that's what we're going to wrap up with. So for our listeners is, spending some time every day in that juicy place of what amplifies your joy, amplifies your creativity, amplifies that flow, whatever that is for you, whether it's writing in a journal, whether it's that meditation on a specific thing, whether it's singing, whether it's speaking, even if you don't have an audience, pretend you have one, create a recording, put it on Facebook, whatever that might be, that keeps you in the flow of that, and begin to share the vision and the dream of where it is that you want to go, one step at a time. And that's going to bring it forward. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for being here today. And thank you, Amy, for being here today. And I want you all to remember that you are a miracle. Thanks for listening to Living Your Juiciest Life Ever, and have yourself a fabulous day, evening, morning, whatever that might be.
Thank you, Kate.